the debate so far. I actually have a question to Flavia.
Yes.
If I misquote you or misphrase you, please interrupt me. But during your speech, in the beginning, you said that one of the things you admired or one of the liberal ideas you stand for is that we don't have to agree, and that's the beautiful thing of liberalism. Then one of your final quotes was, I don't have a problem with conservatives unless they attack liberal institutions. The liberal point you stand for is that we can disagree, and that's a good thing. And in that sense, it's also okay with you if you disagree with conservatives. And you draw a line when they attack liberal institutions. And I don't mean to be annoying, but I'd like an example of a liberal institution that you don't want to be attacked. You say, well, I draw the line at attacking institutions. And since that's apparently the line of free speech or debate for you, then I would like to know where exactly this line would be drawn according to you.
Yes, thank you so much for this question. You know, just to maybe illustrate more clearly what I mean by liberal institutions or the values I want to see protected through the work I did, it's kind of the carpet we're on, you know, and as long as we remain on this carpet, as long as we don't attack really the simple basic, values, which is, for example, equality before law. Exactly.
Okay, so not necessarily formal institutions such as the European Union or...
No, I mean, it really, as well as this, but thank you for this question. So again, if I get back to the case, because I explained it already,
No, you really didn't explain yourself, okay? You give all these things. She's about name an institution. Okay, you go back to a law or some policy. That's not an institution. Give us an institution. Not a law.
People who don't have a Swiss citizenship, but who would, if I as a Swiss would drive 2 times too fast within 10 years, I would get a fine, maybe 100 Swiss francs. And if somebody with no Swiss passport would be expelled out of the country, if that law would have been accepted. So for me, this is clearly living in Switzerland is not equal before law anymore. And, this value in the Constitution should...
That's just plain stupid. There must have been a reason why they decided. I mean, somebody just, unless for very, very reason, but somebody comes up with an idea for a law to pass and says, you know what, so is this a big problem with foreigners? With people that may be illegal in Switzerland, illegal aliens? I don't even know if they have them, if they don't like those terminologies. Who gives a crap? I'm saying it. So let's say they've got foreigners that are there, don't have a Swiss passport. Is this such a big problem that somebody said, you know what, we have a tremendous amount of foreign people here that don't understand our driving laws and are causing problems? Are they causing huge amounts of accidents? Are they causing, deaths or, whatever? What's the reason behind this? And you know what? She's saying equal before the law. You know what? I don't know. I would probably take a look at that law and say, you know what? Wow, that's pretty harsh. You don't have a Swiss passport. Now, I might basically say that if you were an illegal and that happened and you got caught, but the first time I think you should be gone. Now, if you're there legally and I think there should be some maybe leeway, for the judge or the advocate to make a decision. How fast was the person going? What was the reason behind it? What's going on right now? I don't understand the time limit on. I mean, there's a whole bunch but that's, again, not an institution. That's just a law. There's a lot of laws that that are equal. And they shouldn't be equal. Citizens should have everybody should be under the same law, what I'm saying. But if you're a citizen of a country, that shouldn't make it that you can't write other laws that basically give more, all the rights should be attributed to citizens. And there should be some rights given to people that are there as foreigners or as immigrants or whatever. But once they become citizens, they form part of that compact, then they fall within that category that they should have full access to all those laws. But that doesn't mean that if you're an illegal alien, if you're a foreign person, in a country, and you want a law passed simply because for you it's going to help you, but it's not going to help the citizen of that country, I don't agree with that. But that's saying Flavia, she wants equality, open borders, equality for everybody, no matter what. Then what's the use? Why even have a Swiss passport? Just get rid of them. Don't have any passports, nothing whatsoever.
Would not make a difference whether you are a Swiss citizen or whether you're not a Swiss citizen. And so that's where actually I start to disagree and where I strongly fight for this liberal value or institution, I would call it in a broader sense. Do you understand better what I meant by my argument?
No.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for clarifying with your question. We have another one up there. Yes, maybe you could just speak very loudly or the micro. For the live stream. Sorry, we have to record you. So you can think once more about your formulation.
Thank you. One question to both of the participants. First, one to Flavia. Flavia, is there a valid reason for a citizen to not want any immigration to their country or town? And one to Douglas if there was a theme earlier amongst the rate of change. You raised the point of the 5% in the UK with the Normans. Is it not just changing that everything's changing really quickly nowadays? And so if there's a lot of change with immigration, we've got smartphones now and we didn't have that 20 years ago. So it all washes out, all comes out in the wash.
Let's start with this one. I would suggest to Douglas Murray, and then we'll end with Flavia.
Is that the end, can I ask? Or?
I would suggest it is the end,
okay.
Yes.
Fine. Let me answer. Yes, that's a very interesting question. It is possible. We do, of course, live in a time of extraordinary change. The technological change that the questioner just rightly referred to is perhaps the most fundamental of all in the era that's gone unaddressed this evening. The extraordinary benefits and negatives of living in an era where we all have access to all of the information in the world at the tap of a finger. It's an enormous blessing, and it brings a lot of problems. And yes, there is an extent to which you can say that. I would say that, however, churn of populations, that is significant population change, is one of the most significant changes. We know this, and we talk about it historically. When large movements of people happen in history, we who write about history reflect on them still. There are things like the Huguenot movement in the 17th century, my own country, which is still talked about. That was a relatively small movement of people, but it's mentioned because it was quite an important thing at the time, albeit only 50,000 people then. So it's true that these things have all sped up. It's true that the question of migration, where we haven't really got onto it tonight at all, but the question of migration is a complex one. It isn't simply something like open borders versus right-wing populists. It is one that, as I say in The Strange Death of Europe, goes down the heart of each one of us as well as down the heart of our society. It's an exceptionally complex question. But as I say, I go back to this point that even with everything else that's changing in the world, the population change is the most long-lasting such change, because people are not all the same. They don't all bring the same ideas. They don't bring the same culture. They don't bring the same religions or anything else. And there are upsides to that and downsides to that. As I said earlier, you can deprecate it or praise it, but most of us think that it's a somewhat mixed bag. If this is, by the way, to be the last round, I would just mention something very quickly. Flavia said that I hadn't prepared a speech. I do indeed have a speech here. I haven't been called upon to use it tonight, but my notes sit in front of me. I don't quite know, yet again, why that attack should be made. And I would just add one other thing, which is that it is my experience that I turn up to events and broadcast in when quarantining rules do not allow me to turn up to events, in a spirit of genuine openness to ideas. It's one of the great founding liberal ideas that we engage with each other. And I would just make this one point. When Flavia stood up and described me as stupid or a fool, she said, and then talked about arguments I make as boring, elitist, I've rather lost count of the number of insults she did. That is to not engage in that fundamental liberal spirit of debate. And so I'm very sorry myself that her decision to open this evening by being rude should have meant that some certain curtness might have been needed in reply. But I would hope on other occasions that she would join me in the spirit of genuine liberal thinking.
Okay, that point has been made. Thank you.
Oh my God. He just literally, with words, folks, he went after Flavia Kleiner and put this petulant, elitist, privileged, white, leftist, socialist, Marxist woman, her derriere, in place, folks. Unbelievable. And the crowd absolutely loved that answer, as you can tell by the clapping.
Douglas, we have the last question for you, Flavia, from the audience. Is there a valid reason not to have any immigration, not to be supporting immigration? Right, that was your question.
Yeah, thank you also for your question. I would like to say that if there's one thing that has been constant to us as a human, race, it's migration. People are moving because they take decisions, and it's their right to move. And I think we have this is just a fact also which is happening. I would say, as Douglas...
It's their right to move, but it is also the right of a nation to say, you can't move here because of X, Y, Z. That's up to the nation itself to decide. Everybody has a right to do things, but on the other side, you need somebody that's going to be accepting of your right to do those things or to deny you to do certain things. So just because Flavia likes it or just because I like something doesn't mean anything. We have to have a set of laws that decide whether or not we like those things to occur or we don't like those things to occur. And that's what we do as a community, as a society. But it's for the good of the entirety, for the individual, and also for the citizenry and for the sovereignty of a nation or a country.
Said it's a complex question about migration. And my point really just is to say that, migration will affect our society, but I'm not sure if it will affect our society as strongly as technology will, for example, or climate change. And, sometimes if I also look at conservative parties and some follow these right-wing populist claims that are being made, I wonder, why are they also against development aid, for example? Or why are they not taking any measures against climate change? Because they could, they're in parliament. These are also just fields which affect a lot migration, especially from Africa, I would say. And so that's just where I would play the ball back, because that's one thing where I don't see any answer coming up. And again, I just want to say that I'm standing here, I'm debating, I think, with Douglas Murray, and I didn't call him a fool. I just said there are fools, and there's Douglas Murray who would give up on these values, because that's what I heard from you in the conversation in the very first
Well, you decided to insult me before you listened to me, but there we are.
I listened to you and then I spoke.
I would say this was a debate. However, thank you very much, Douglas Murray, for joining us. Thank you very much, Flavia Kleiner, and thanks all of you here and all of you at home watching the live stream. This is it for tonight. Thank you very much for being here, and please do check out the YouTube channel for more from the Forum on European Culture. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So bottom line is that, she talked, the gentleman's question was, migration. Is there any reason? Look, if somebody doesn't want, that's perfectly someone's right to say it. Do they have a reason for it? If they do, great. They don't have a reason for it, that's fine. That's a debate that happens within society, within individuals. Policies, laws, and rules are made, but they're made by the people that we elect, by our elected officials, not by by some other country or in another part of the world, and then basically said, okay, we're going to make these rules, and we're going to make these laws, we're going to shove them down your throat, and you have to listen to everything that we say and abide by what we said, but we're not elected by that thing. That's not what's happening at all. So with all that being said, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Let us know in the comments below what you think. My final thought, as always, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Thanks, everyone. Take care and stay safe.